Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most intense and gripping crime thrillers of the last decade, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This book is packed with mystery, intrigue, and unforgettable characters. If you love dark secrets, shocking twists, and edge-of-your-seat suspense, then stick around. We're about to unravel this brilliant story. Now, before we start, I want to give a quick spoiler warning. We're going to be diving deep into the story, so if you haven't read the book yet and want to keep the mystery alive, you might want to pause and come back later. First, let's talk about the man behind this masterpiece, Stieg Larsson. Larsson was a Swedish journalist and writer with a passion for uncovering corruption and injustice, and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is his first book in the Millennium series. Released in 2005, it quickly became a global bestseller. Sadly, Larsson passed away before he could witness the success of his work, but his legacy lives on through this unforgettable novel. Now, the novel combines elements of a classic whodunit mystery, a deep dive into corporate corruption, and an unforgettable character study of its two leads, Mikael Blomkvist and Lisbeth Salander. Let's jump right into the plot. The story begins with Mikael Blomkvist, a respected journalist who has just lost a major court case. He had published a damning article exposing the corrupt practices of a wealthy businessman named Wennerström, but unfortunately he couldn't back up his claims with enough solid evidence. The result? He's fined. His reputation is in tatters, and he's left questioning his future. Mikael's character is interesting. He's principled but flawed, and it's this mix that makes him such a compelling protagonist. Right when things look bleak, he receives a strange offer, an invitation to meet Harriet Vanger, the patriarch of a wealthy Swedish family, who has an unusual request. Now we get to the core of the mystery. Harriet Vanger asks Mikael to investigate the disappearance of his niece, Harriet, who vanished 40 years ago. Harriet believes she was murdered, and what's even more disturbing is that he suspects someone in his own family is responsible. Can you imagine living with that suspicion for decades? This is where the real tension begins. The Vanger family is massive, powerful, and filled with individuals who all seem to be hiding something. As Mikael starts to investigate, we, the readers, are introduced to this cold, unsettling world of family secrets, old grudges, and some truly disturbing revelations. So at this point, the more Mikael digs, the more it becomes clear that Harriet's disappearance is linked to some really dark family history. Hey! This is where things get really interesting. After investigating all the family Drac secret, finally Blomkvist teams up with Lisbeth Salander, a brilliant but troubled hacker with a haunting past. Lisbeth isn't your typical heroine. She's got a dragon tattoo, a sharp mind, and a fierce determination to seek justice, sometimes in pretty brutal ways. Lisbeth is the novel's wild card. She doesn't care about fitting in or following society's rules, and that's what makes her such an iconic character. When she's hired to help Mikael with the investigation, her skills as a hacker become invaluable. She breaks into anything and everything to uncover information no one else could find. What's really fascinating is the contrast between Mikael and Lisbeth. He's this middle-aged journalist trying to rebuild his life, and she's this enigmatic young woman who's been through unimaginable trauma. But together, they form a dynamic partnership that pushes the investigation to new heights. Okay, get back to the story. So, Blomkvist and Salander's investigation uncovers horrifying secrets within the Vanger family. As they dig deeper, they find out that Harriet's father, Gottfried, and her brother, Martin, were behind a series of brutal crimes, things far worse than a mere missing person. Without giving away too many spoilers, let's just say that the Vanger family has skeletons in its closet that stretch back decades, and those secrets are deadly. Now talk about the person who disappeared, Miss Harriet Vanger. She is totally different from her family. Sadly, Harriet endured a traumatic childhood, suffering physical and emotional abuse at the hands of her father, Gottfried, and her brother, Martin. Both men were deeply troubled and committed numerous heinous crimes. Early in the investigation, Blomkvist finds a series of old photographs from the day Harriet disappeared. In one image, Harriet is standing by a window and appears to be staring in terror at something or someone outside. By piecing together these photos, Mikael realizes that Harriet may have witnessed something traumatic just before she vanished. As Blomkvist and Salander examine Harriet's notes, they find that she had listed Bible verses alongside names and dates. The pair eventually deduces that these entries correspond to a series of brutal murders committed over decades. This leads them to the horrifying realization that members of the Vanger family, including Harriet's father, Gottfried, and later her brother, Martin, were responsible for a string of violent crimes against women. Armed with this new knowledge, Blomkvist confronts Martin, who admits to his and his father's crimes, but denies any involvement in Harriet's disappearance. Blomkvist narrowly escapes Martin, who dies soon after in a car crash. This leaves the mystery of Harriet's fate still unsolved. With Salander's expert hacking skills, they trace clues that lead them to a woman living under a new identity in Australia. This woman is, in fact, Harriet Vanger. Harriet had managed to escape her abusive family and build a life far away from the Vanger estate, essentially staging her own disappearance to protect herself. Harriet said she vanished without a trace at age 16 during a family gathering on Hedeby Island, a secluded estate owned by the Vanger family. Her disappearance becomes a decades-long obsession for Henrik, who is convinced she was murdered by a family member. After escaping, Harriet becomes more reserved, living a quiet, low-profile life. Her caution is a response to her trauma, as she seeks to avoid further harm and protect herself from being found by her dangerous family. The decision to leave everything behind to survive on her terms shows her fierce independence and determination. Finally, by combining their investigative talents, Blomkvist's persistence, and Salander's hacking, Mikael and Lisbeth ultimately solve the mystery, bringing Harriet back to reunite with her uncle, Harriet Vanger, who was the only person cares about Harriet. Their discovery brings long-awaited closure to the Vanger family, revealing a story of survival amidst the dark history that had haunted them for decades. But what about Blomkvist and Salander? Their partnership grows complex. Although they develop a close bond, Lisbeth ends up feeling hurt when she sees Blomkvist with another woman. In the end, she walks away, leaving their connection unresolved. The novel closes on a powerful note. Lisbeth, who's a master hacker, steals a fortune from a corrupt financier, setting herself up for future adventures. It's the perfect setup for the next book in Larsson's Millennium series. Now, let's talk a bit more about the themes and character dynamics in the book. At its heart, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo isn't just a crime thriller, it's a commentary on corruption, power, and the abuse of women. Larsson doesn't shy away from exposing the darker sides of society, and this is reflected in both the plot and the characters. So, what makes The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo such a standout crime thriller? It's the blend of suspense, unforgettable characters, and shocking plot twists. The novel keeps you guessing until the very end, and just when you think you've got it all figured out, Larsson hits you with a revelation that changes everything. If you haven't read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo yet, I highly recommend picking it up. It's more than just a mystery, it's a complex story about justice, revenge, and survival. And that's a wrap on The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's a story of survival, justice, and moral gray areas that leave us questioning what's right and wrong. Let me know in the comments. What did you think of this novel? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the world of literature. Until next time, stay curious.